Hello, we have Stormy on the line. How are you doing, Stormy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. You are involved with a lot of paranormal topics, and also you read tarot cards. Is that right?
Yes, yes, I read tarot and oracle cards.
What are oracle cards?
Oracle cards are almost the same as tarot. They're a little different. Tarot tends to have a set of major arcana, minor arcana. Oracle cards are set up a bit different, and they have somewhat of a different use than just regular tarot cards. For example, like the shaman's oracle cards, they are used in order to determine what spirits are walking with you, such as ancestors, things like that. By knowing what spirits are walking with you, it can tell you what's coming in your life because each spirit is there to prepare you for something specific.
What does the word shaman mean to you?
Shaman, me? It means people who are born with one foot in this world and one foot still in the other side. And because of that, we use that connection to the other side to, well, mostly to help people in the physical. And this can be in many different ways. There are different types of shaman. Some are spiritual healers, some are physical healers, some are just simply fortune tellers, for lack of a better word. They will tell you your future. I do a little bit of all those, actually. So I'm kind of a little bit of everything shaman, I guess. Initially, though, when I first found out I was a shaman, I was told I was a spiritual healer. So I guess that's my designation. I don't know. I think we are pretty much, though, whatever we believe ourselves to be in some form. We create our own realities. So
How would you introduce somebody that's not familiar with tarot cards or how they work to what their purpose is?
tarot cards' purpose is to answer questions about things that are unknown at the current time, to find hidden knowledge in things and situations that can't be seen in any other way. These are done to let you know what is coming for you based on the path you're currently on. Now, the reason that there can be a reading for you that could change is because when a card is drawn, it is telling you what your future is going to be based on the path that you're currently on. You can choose to change that path, and by changing that path, you change your future. Everything we do, each choice that we make affects the life that we live. So it's important that you understand when you consult with a card, it's not only telling you what's coming and what, but it's telling you that based on what you're doing, this is what's coming. So in case you don't like it, you can take the necessary steps in your life to change your focus and your direction so that you go down a better path.
We did a broadcast from LOP Chat after you initially had a card reading session in LOP Chat, and a lot of people were impressed with the results they were getting. Has that always been the case?
That really always has, yeah. When I was a teenager was the first time I did, the first time I used tarot cards, and they weren't mine. They were a friend of mine's, and we're actually still in touch today. But the thing about tarot cards is they're really good for consulting, but sometimes telling your own future isn't too easy. So she wanted me to pull cards for her and see how it would go. So I did, and it went really well. So she said, well, I have some friends coming over that are wanting a reading. Why don't you do the reading for them? So I did the reading for them and pretty much blew them away. And, I didn't get my own cards even then for several years. A lot of things took place after that. and I had met the shaman after that as well. But it wasn't until a few years later that I decided to do some reading on my own. It just wasn't something I really pursued at the time. But I did always have really good experiences with it, as far as somehow always being crazy accurate.
Did you have any experience with things that are considered paranormal before you started with the tarot cards?
Oh, yes. My experiences with the paranormal started when I was very, very, very young. My earliest memory was, at least of something paranormal, was when I was about 4 years old. I was reading in my bed at night, and I had my dog always sitting on my lap. And my mom was about to come in and tuck me in for bed. It was later in the evening, and this woman came into my doorway, and she was really, really beautiful. She had strawberry blonde hair, long, flowing. Her eyes they had this look to them that would just set you at ease immediately upon seeing her face. She wore a long flowing gown, and she had this kind of glow about her. And I really don't know how to explain it, but it was almost like it was from within her and kind of radiated out. But she talked to me for what seemed like a really long time. And then while she's talking to me, my mom comes into the doorway behind her, and I can see my mom through her. And she asked me who I'm talking to. And I said, well, don't you see her? She's right in front of you. And she's like, no, honey, I don't see anyone. So she comes in, and she walks right through her and tells me goodnight and tucks me in and walks right back out again, as if it's not abnormal whatsoever. And after she leaves, the woman comes over near me and sits down and tells me that she has to go. But I'm not going to be able to remember anything we talked about until the time was right. And I asked her why, and she just said it was just the way it had to be. So I'm able to remember seeing her and everything about it, and my mother remembers the night to this day. But it's still not time yet, apparently, because I cannot remember what she said to me. I just remember that being with her was so comfortable. I searched for the right words. There was this feeling of love that radiated from her. I felt no fear. I felt no concerns. It felt perfectly natural for her to be there and for me to be with her. And I felt extremely sad when she left. And after her visit, there were a lot more visits, but they weren't like her. I had beings that would stand in the corner of my room that most people refer to now as shadow people. I called them watchers as a child. That's the way I've always referred to them. But they are, for all practical purposes, the same thing that most people describe as these shadow beings. They were dark, black, and they weren't shadows. They had form. They looked like a shadow, but there was a density to them that is really kind of hard to explain. So yeah, paranormal things have been a part of my life long before tarot cards ever entered the picture.
Would you term the woman as a ghost?
Ghost. I don't know, honestly. For some years, there were all kinds of ideas. My mom thought it might be a spirit of, a relative or family member, like perhaps my grandfather's mother. But as we've looked through family albums, there is no one that looks like her. There have been, I've shared this experience before. There are people that, said maybe it's an angel. I don't even feel comfortable really designating a title to her because I honestly just don't know, and I don't want to put a definition to her that might be false. So I've avoided that.
Do you ever get a sense of fear from what you called the Watchers?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. There are times that they scare me quite a great deal, and I think that's their intent. There are other times that they seem benign, and I'm not really bothered by their presence. And more as I became an adult, they stopped for a few years, and then they would come back. As I was older, I was so used to them, it didn't cause the same amount of fear in me that it did when I was a child. But there was one instance that was particularly terrifying. It was actually the most extreme and physical situation I had ever experienced with one of them. When was this? This was like about 12 years ago. And my mother-in-law was living with us at the time because she had just had a surgery. My husband was gone to work, and I saw one of them in the corner of the room. I had not gotten out of bed yet, and I didn't really know what to do about him being there. So I turned on my side and tried to pretend like I was going to sleep so that it would go away. But it didn't go away. As I'm laying there on my side, my eyes are open, and I can hear footsteps on the carpet, which freaked me out because I'm thinking to myself, I didn't think these things had that kind of a mass where you could actually hear it. And all of a sudden, it's like right next to me, behind me. And I feel that it grab my shoulder and push down this pressure, and it starts making this sound in my ear, like a huffing sound, like really heavy, fast breathing, like a and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, I'm going to die. This thing is physically grabbed me. It's shaking me. And I can't move. I was completely frozen. I couldn't do anything. And it finally released. And I screamed, and my mother-in-law yelled for me and came to see what was going on. And yeah, that was absolutely the most extremely physical experience I've ever had. I've had experiences where things interact physically with things and move them, but that's the only time I've ever really actually felt threatened by something like that.
So it actually grabbed you?
Yeah, it grabbed me. It grabbed my shoulder, and it squeezed, and it just pushed down on me and then just shook me.
Did it feel fleshy?
It just felt firm. No, it didn't really feel fleshy. It was just a pressure.
Have you had any recent experiences with these?
Shadow beings? Not since probably, when was that? I saw some at our previous house, and I'm thinking that must have been about midsummer, this last midsummer, last year. There was, they would dart across the door in front of my closet. The closets have always been problems. Closets seem to be doorways. People, your kids are scared of the closet and they tell you there's something in the closet. You need to listen to your kids and not think they're making things up, because these things seem to use different doorways, and closets seem to be a very good doorway for them. That was actually at a time where I was less worried about the shadow beings, because I had these strange mists that kept appearing above me at night. One was white and the other was red. It would had a red glow to it. I'd open my eyes and I'd see this glowing red mist above me, and it scared the hell out of me. The white one didn't really scare me, but the red one scared me a lot.
Did they have a form?
A what? A form?
Yes, a form.
They were more like a cloud. They had no shape. They were just like a cloudy mist. I know why they were there. I'm very apparent. After shortly after all of that happened with the mists and stuff, I can't remember why I ended up going in, but I had to go to my doctor for some blood tests, and I was extremely low on blood. My hemoglobin was 6.2. Anything below 8, you're pretty close to death. So I was very, very close to the other side when that happened. So I think the white mist was probably protective, guardian, and I think the red mist was probably something nasty. So they went away after I had the blood transfusion, and I haven't seen them since.
Do you feel like there's something about you that draws the supernatural to you?
I think it's probably just because of my nature. I didn't understand it as a child and growing up. And honestly, for a lot of years, I didn't understand that the things that I experienced weren't normal to everyone. It wasn't until I got a bit older that I understood that not everybody saw things like that. Not everybody experienced things like that. And then I learned to just kind of keep quiet about stuff. And it wasn't until I was told I was a shaman, that it started to kind of leak through, an idea of why so many strange things happened to me. But it wasn't really until I was older that I really put it together and understood that probably the reason that I experienced all the things that I did was because as a shaman, the veil between the physical and the spirit realm is just really, really thin.
Is shamanism in your heritage or bloodline?
Yeah, it is. I don't, and I can't track all of my bloodline back. There are gaping holes in it in some places, but my tribe has had shaman in it. I am Native American, and we have gone away from that. And I don't really know how long back it's been since we've had an official tribal shaman that was designated as the shaman of the tribe, because we've kind of slipped into, like everyone has, modern society, and with that, many of our ancient cultures have slipped away from us. So we don't have a shaman officially of the tribe, and we don't have that active practice in the tribe anymore. The woman that I went to was a shaman in my tribe, but she was not the shaman of my tribe. She was an elder shaman, but we haven't had a recognized tribal shaman for a long time. But it is something that my tribe has had in the past. And I honestly think it's something that we should have, because I think we're robbing ourselves of a piece of our heritage and losing a bit of our spirituality by letting that go. But that's just the way it is right now. We've gone to a pretty commercialized, typical government system now. We don't have a chief per se anymore. Now we have a president and a secretary and treasury and all that, just like any other government.
Is it okay to ask what tribe your family heritage is?
I'm part of the Ho-Chunk Nation. We're a northern tribe. Although our tribe also has members in Nebraska as well, because in the early years when the settlers came in, they kept trying to ship my people off to Nebraska. My tribal is initially from Wisconsin, and that is our home. And they would take my ancestors and drag them across the country and drop them off in a reservation and leave them there, and then we would get back up and walk all the way back to Wisconsin. So there are some that stayed, but my part of the tribe, they're Wisconsin-based.
Has your heritage influenced your spirituality or your interest in conspiracy topics or the paranormal?
Not to a great extent. I honestly grew up not really. When I was a child, I was taught to be ashamed of who I was because my father was adopted into a non-native family. And as a result, he was taught to be ashamed of who he was and taught me to be ashamed of who I was. It wasn't until I became an adult that I sought out my tribe and became more involved. And about 6 years ago, I was called back to the path of the shaman at that point in time. When I initially found out, I wasn't ready. I was 16 years old and I was not ready to accept being a shaman at that time. I had no interest whatsoever in it. And then it sort of found me. I had a sign. I was coming home one day and this enormous bird flew up in front of our SUV. And its wingspan was so large that you couldn't see the tips of both sides of the wings. You could only see the body of the bird and halfway across the wingspan in the windshield. It was trying to get up out of the way, and I literally had to stop so that it could get up. And once it got up in the air, I couldn't find it again. It was gone. My son was with me that day, and he's just like, what was that? We got home, and I started searching and looking for what kind of bird that could have possibly been. You know, I measured the windshield and tried to get an idea of the wingspan and everything, and the only thing I could come up with, a thunderbird. Well, thunderbirds are kind of a creature that is more of just a legend, and they're not really something that is recognized as something that exists today. We continued to see this bird for some time, almost a month's time after that. It was enormous. It looked like a raven, but just massive. The largest raven you could possibly imagine. Its wingspan had to be about 20 feet. It was huge. And as I'm doing the research on the thunderbird, I found out that the thunderbird was actually a symbol of our tribe. And this is what drew me back into not only the tribe, but also, as someone had mentioned, that I was being given a sign. And I didn't make a conscious decision, but that is when I started back on the path of the shaman.
When I've read topics on conspiracy forums dealing with the word shaman or shamanism, it seems like they fall in one of two categories. They're either very prophetic in nature or they're about healing. Can you give us the scoop on what shamanism is really all about?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. When I've read topics on conspiracy sites dealing with shamanism, it seems like they fall under either healing type of subjects or prophecy related material. Can you tell us what true shamanism is about?
Well, see, I don't know if there's such a thing as true shamanism, because the path is really different for every shaman. There are people who choose the path. They weren't necessarily born shaman, but as they develop spiritually, it's something that they become interested in, and then they decide to start walking the path. They will try to learn it from people who will teach it to them. I'm not really sure what they're teaching them, but from my understanding, there's no exact right or wrong. There's no set in stone definition for what it is to be a shaman. The most general definition is a person, like I said, who has a connection, usually between this world and the other, uses the information from that to help people, whether it be healing, or it could be, knowing their path, their future. There are some shaman that I've heard of that are somewhat dark shaman that do magic that can be both considered light and dark. I don't know anyone like that, but I've heard of it. There are many, many, many very different paths. And one of the things about a shaman is that you understand that everyone's path is unique and everyone has their own path to walk. And it's not our choice and it's not our place to judge anyone else's path or define what it should be. Each person has to find that own path. And when I was ready to go down the path again, I was actually concerned about these ideas because I didn't know what I was doing. And so I needed guidance, like most people. And I tried to track down the shaman of my tribe who had initially told me I was a shaman so that she could, I was hoping, teach me, train me, what do I do? How do I walk this path? Only to find out that she had passed away already. So there was nothing there for me to learn from her. There was nothing left. If I were to talk to her, it would have to be on the other side. And as I went through mourning over that for a while, and I did, and I went through a time of deep confusion, not knowing my path, not knowing where to turn, not knowing what to do, and trying to decide whether I should continue and go forward, I called to my ancestors and asked them to help me. And shortly after, I understood that I didn't need to be taught. By living and walking the path on my own, I needed to find my way through the darkness into the light. It had to be something that I do on my own. And by doing it by myself, finding my way and letting my intuition and my ancestors guide me, I would actually understand the path so much better, the one that was set for me, than I would if somebody said, okay, go here, do this, do that, say this. For me, that was not the way it was meant to be. For me, my path had to be self-found. I had to walk it alone. I had to find my way blindly in the dark. I don't regret it for a single second. I'm still walking that path. I'm still learning more. I don't know everything. I know that I don't know everything. I'm still understanding things slowly as I go along. But I have come to understand that when I need guidance, all I have to do is ask my ancestors, and they will be with me. So I don't know if that helps you as far as a definition, but there just really isn't. To try to give it a definition that discounts one person or another is to disrespect those other shamans. And every shaman walks the path for a reason, because usually they want to do something to help. They want to be in tune with the earth and the ancestors. So I cannot give a definition that would say one person is a shaman but another person isn't, because when they walk that path, they become a shaman because it's what's in their heart.
How do you perceive modern society and the direction it's going in now?
I perceive modern society as a lot of people that are lost right now. And there are people that are intentionally keeping them lost because it's what serves them best. We are blind. We are in the dark. We're asleep. We're so asleep right now. Our world is dying around us, and we are totally oblivious to it, caught up in our stresses and worries over our bills and who's the biggest singer on American Idol. Silly, trivial things. People are homeless all over this country. Children are homeless. And that's just in this country. All over the world, children don't have meals. And this exists because of the systems that are set up. And people daily don't even think about these things because they're so caught up in getting to work on time, meeting their doctor's appointment, going to ballet recital. We are asleep. We are walking in a dream. And we have to wake up. Because if we don't wake up, if we don't change, if we don't care about the people around us, we're not going to make it. We have to come together as a people. If we don't come together as a people, we are all lost.
How long have you been on sites like Lunatic Outpost?
How long have I been on sites like this? I believe, I think it's been 11 years, something like that, maybe more.
And what drew you to sites that discuss the kind of topics these sites talk about?
Well, my life. I mean, think about it. The things that I experience. I'm thinking it was almost after a UFO sighting, most likely, and I was looking up answers, things like that, and I came across Above Top Secret at that time. And I had become a member, I believe it was 2003. And back then, there weren't a whole lot of them. I mean, in recent years, lots of conspiracy sites have sprung up. Some good, some not so good. LOP is one of the good ones. But it's a place where people can talk about things that are taboo everywhere else. So,
was this a personal sighting with an unidentified flying object?
What?
Was this a personal sighting with a UFO?
Yes, yeah.
And can you tell us what happened with that?
Well, I've had a few of them. The first one, I was 14, and I was sitting in my room at night. I had this amazingly gorgeous big window in my room, and I had a really good view of the stars because we lived in the country. And I was looking up at the stars, and I saw this thing that looked like a comet, but like if a comet had a rainbow color to it. So it was like an ice cream cone laying on its side, but full of color. And it was really high in the sky. It wasn't like airplane level. It was like sky height, like star height. And I kept looking at this thing, wondering what it was. So I went and I got my mom, and my little brother came in with her, and we were looking up in the sky at this thing, wondering what it is. It was just sitting there. So I thought, well, maybe it's a star, But as we're sitting there, it just suddenly decides to leave. It doesn't just leave. It ping-pongs back and forth across the sky like a ball bearing in a pinball machine. So it zips, kind of like Zorro. When Zorro does his little Z formation thing? That's almost exactly what it did, only it did it in the sky. And on the final, when it went to the left the final time, it zipped off so fast, it was literally gone from sight, in less than a second. It's like 1 second it's there, and the next second you can't see it anymore. That was the first one.
How many others have you had?
I don't really have count of them, honestly. But that was one that I definitely felt just couldn't possibly be something man-made. The one that I most likely was probably looking up at the time happened in 97. And this was actually just after I made a connection with some of my family that I had not previously known. And I had some of my younger cousins with us that night. We went to a drive-in theater, and I think it was Jurassic Park that we were seeing that night. And near the end of the movie, this gold sphere, it was metallic looking, but it also seemed fluid. It was hovering about, it was about halfway up the door height. And it went by at same height level as us, right by my window within about 10 feet of us. and you could see the glow as it was coming. And then I turned and looked, and I see this huge sphere like the size of a Volkswagen. And then it just shoots up right after it goes by us. It shoots up into the sky at an angle, and then boom, it's gone. It's gone. It was that fast. And at that moment, my husband and I turned to each other and were like, what the hell was that? And the kids were freaking out, and they're like, what was that? What was that? Everybody's freaking out. We never figured out what it was. And my husband is an extreme skeptic. Even though he has experienced so many things since we've been together that he cannot explain, he's an extreme skeptic. So he, to this day, will not say what he thinks it is. He won't call it a UFO. He's like, well, we don't know what it is. Maybe it was government. Maybe it was this or that. But it was one of those things that really leaves an impression on you because it was so close to us. But it was on my side. So it was closer to me. But I've never seen anything like this thing. Well, I take that back. Physically. Actually, I think it was a year later, the movie Sphere came out. And I swear to you, the thing that they found in the bottom of the ocean in that movie looked exactly like what went by us in the drive-in a year before that. And it made me wonder if maybe someone else saw it and decided to make a movie out of it. Who knows?
Did you think any other passengers of any other vehicles also witnessed this?
Did I what?
I'm sorry. Do you believe that any other passengers in other vehicles, besides the one that you were traveling in, witnessed the same event?
They probably did. We were so caught up in the moment, we honestly didn't look around and ask because it was right at the end of the movie. But we just kind of, the whole drive home, were talking about it, but we didn't, get out and ask other people. Probably should have. But back then, that was the second UFO sighting I'd ever had. And the first one, we pretty much determined we weren't going to call it in because we didn't trust the government. We didn't trust the Air Force. And it would probably be a bad idea because then it just puts you on your radar and they start questioning you. And you see these movies back in the 80s where every time somebody has something abnormal happen to them, the government takes them and experiments on them and crap. So to avoid all of that, we decided not to call it in. It just didn't seem like a good idea. And so the same thing in this situation. I mean, in every situation, it's really been, you're so in the moment thinking about, other people experiencing it just doesn't even enter your mind. And now in today's day and age, when everything is about getting proof and things on video, back then you really just didn't care whether or not other people experienced it or whether they believed you or not. Mm-hmm. For the most part, it was pretty much assumed they weren't going to believe you because things like that just weren't talked about a lot. It's really something that's more of a recent development where people are actually able to, in a public place, explain and share experiences like this and not be immediately ridiculed. Things have changed a lot. The times have changed a great deal, and it's a wonderful thing, but back then, not so much. It wasn't something that, you really thought about. And I can tell you just about every other UFO sighting, there have been very few times where we have had the foresight to try and find a way to record it. Quite often things happen so fast, even if you wanted to, you couldn't have. But when you get caught up in that moment, when you see something like this, something that just defies explanation, you really don't care about getting proof for other people. You just don't want to leave and lose the experience. Because if you go away, it might be gone when you come back. So I'm always amazed at people who see something like this and their first thought is, oh, let me start videotaping it, because that has never been the thought that's ever happened to me or anyone I know. When we see something like this, we're so caught up in that moment. The idea of getting proof for other people just really doesn't even cross our minds because it's not important. We're we're really just absorbed in that moment and the experience and enjoying it.
Why do you believe that the government is interested in the UFO phenomena?
Why? Because they can't control it. Anything they can't control, I'm sure they have a great deal of interest in, because, you know, the government's whole purpose is to control everything, isn't it? So if there's something they can't control, it scares the hell out of them. So what do? You do the best you can to control it, you know, if they can. Some probably perceive it as a threat, although I highly, highly doubt in most situations there's any threat. I mean, give the example of the Battle of Los Angeles. That UFO flew over and just hovered over Los Angeles for the better part of the night. They fired surface-to-air missiles at it, but it didn't do any damage. Despite the fact that they were attacking this ship, it never fired back. So if it were hostile, you'd think it would actually do something, you know, and try to retaliate, but it never retaliated. So I don't know if it's so much their concern over safety as it is just wanting to control something that's not controllable.
Just for the listeners that aren't familiar with the Battle of Los Angeles, who think that you might be referring to a movie, actually that is a true thing in history that took place, I believe, during World War II, where a UFO was photographed.
1942.
Right. And it made the front page of the Los Angeles Times.
Yes, it did. It was in February, actually.
And they fired numerous anti-aircraft shells and stuff at it, apparently for a distance of a couple miles, I believe. Mm-hmm. And there were some casualties, actually, from some of the artillery
shells
coming back.
Yeah.
That did happen.
And there was a blackout in Los Angeles as a result as well.
Was not aware of that.
Yeah, that's it blacked out. All the power went out in the city, which is why there were so many witnesses to it, because everybody was outside of their house wondering what's going on, and then they could look up in the sky, and there it is. I think there were like 4 million plus witnesses.
And the suspicion at the time was it was some sort of Japanese aircraft that we now know it was, you know, quite a stretch of reality for a Japanese aircraft to have been responsible for that. What are your favorite topics on conspiracy websites?
Well, UFOs for one, because I've seen so many of them. Aliens, paranormal, basically things that I have already experienced, because I'm always looking for more answers. I like to find information about other people's experiences and compare it with my own and analyze that information to try to understand things better.
Would you consider yourself somewhat psychic?
Yeah, I am. The thing is, when I was very young, I was a lot more actively using my abilities than I do now. And, well, my mom used to test me a lot. She would ask me to read her mind, and she would do the flashcard things and make me read them. I was usually one ahead on every single one of them, which is kind of funny. But she kept doing these tests to me, and so one day I thought, well, if I can pull these thoughts from her mind, I wonder if I can put one there. So I decided to do a little experiment. And one morning I'm getting ready for school, and I project the thought towards her that I'd like some popcorn. This is breakfast time. My mother never allows me to have popcorn for breakfast. That's something strictly reserved for TV, you know, in the evening, after schoolwork. And my mom turns to me and asks me if I'd like some popcorn. And at that moment, I just kind of freaked out a little bit. I was a little bit scared of it because a lot of things came and go, as far as dreams that I would have that would come true, knowing things when I did, and I didn't have a whole lot of control over it. And that scared me. Being a very morally responsible person, even at that age, I started to think to myself of, the consequences of that. And, what if I can't control what I do? So after a lot of thinking, I kind of flipped a willful switch off inside myself, which I couldn't totally turn off everything, but it was like putting it on a lower volume and ignoring it. And it wasn't until, actually very recently that I came to the understanding that I allowed the cards to speak for me a great deal of the time. And when you're using the cards, that is something that you are channeling information from another side. But it's different in that you're allowing the cards to speak through you. You're not just reading someone directly and saying, okay, I get this feeling like there's this scrappy guy in your life that's always, getting into trouble and stuff. And because of what he's doing, it's influencing you and you really need to get him out of your life. That's not the same thing, right? So I've been letting the cards do the speaking for me for a long time. But as recently, I'd been getting an influx of reading requests. And this one lady had asked me for a reading, and she was kind of very freaked out by my reading. So she had some questions about her son and asked me if I would pull some cards for him. I immediately felt that it needed to be animal cards for him. So, and even before I pulled out the deck, I got this feeling it was going to be a blank card, because in the medicine cards, they can't possibly have all the animals that are available. And sure enough, as I'm shuffling, the blank card comes up. There's about 5 or 6 of them. And there I am in the middle of a reading, recording this audibly, and the blank card comes up, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to do something I don't normally do, but I'm going to just take a minute and meditate on this and see what comes to me. And I immediately saw a seal. And so I started to explain to her, about different properties of seals and, how they are very playful and loving, but they're often abused and mistreated. And I get the feeling that he was being bullied. And I said, and I don't necessarily feel it's all from kids in school. I said, it also feels like there's an adult bullying him as well. And she really, really freaked out at that point, because apparently he had told her the week before that he was being bullied at school, but apparently the child had also experienced some abuse at the hands of an adult when he was very, very young. And that moment, I realized that I wasn't helping anyone by closing myself off to my intuition, and that I needed to start to learn to trust myself again and trust my intuition a little bit more and start using it a bit more and feeling comfortable with it again, because in order to help people to the fullest extent I need to be comfortable with it again. So that is something I've just started doing again. And I'm still not 100% comfortable with it, but I'm opening up more.
I see. When you say animal cards, I take it this is like the tarot cards, but with animals. Is that right?
Not so much like tarot cards. This is more of a Native American animal medicine. And these represent spirits of animals and properties of spirits of animals that walk with us. When different animal spirits walk with us, the aspects of that animal are influencing our lives at the time because they need to. So that is what those are. Like your spirit animal, everyone has an inner spirit animal and different animals that affect like our inner child and things like that, our hopes and our fears. And so those cards can help you determine that.
What are your favorite cards to work with?
My favorite cards to work with is kind of a tie. I would immediately say the Shaman's Oracle, because I'm a shaman, but I also have this other deck called the Enchanted Map Oracle cards. And this deck was developed by a woman named Colette Baron Reed. And they're very unique and very different. And I have found just a really great connection with them. And they're very, very accurate for me in most of my readings. But each person is different. And almost anytime I get a reading request, I will get this nudge. And that's all I can really explain it as. But I get this nudge as to which deck they need to have read from. It's weird. I really can't explain it. It's one of those intuition things, but it's just this little feeling I get, and I just know what I need to use. It's the only way I can explain it. I just know.
Is there a difference between doing a reading for somebody who is present in your presence and doing one that's for a stranger long distance online?
Absolutely none. Honestly. All I need to do is connect with the energy of the person that's requesting it. And simply via the request, I focus on that person's energy. When I focus on that person's energy, the cards know what to do from there. They know what needs to come out. I can't explain it, but it just works. It just does. I don't need to know their name. I don't need their birth date. So many times people will say, this is my name, this is my birthday, this is what I want. I don't need any of that. I don't even need to know their question most of the time. All I need to do is focus on their energy, and the cards know what they need to hear, what needs to be said, what they need to be aware of.
How would you describe the feeling of being able to perceive another person's energy?
That's another one of those things that it is like a feeling, but more than that, gosh, it really is impossible to describe. I don't think I can describe that accurately. I just don't. There are no words. You have this feeling that you get, and you just connect with it. And I'm really sorry here, but I just can't think of a way to describe that in a way that would really do it justice. It is really just a feeling, and I just can't think of a way to put that into words in a more descriptive way. That's one of those things like, how do you know something? Sometimes you just know. You don't know why you know it. You don't know how you know it. You just know it.
Almost like describing sight to a blind person, I guess.
Yeah, kind of. You just have to experience it.
Can you also focus on collective energy of groups of individuals?
Yes, I can. I've been asked to before. Was asked one time to do a reading for a country. And,
A country.
A country. Yeah, it was a bizarre one. It was years and years ago, but I remember doing it. You just have to focus, on a group as a whole at that point. It's basically you just direct your thoughts and your focus onto that group or an individual or whatever it is. As I've done, a reading for an animal before, and it worked. So things like that,
that.
Yeah. For a cat. And, the strangest thing is the card pulled up exactly what needed to be, even though it was an animal. It was the strangest thing, but, it pulled up the message that needed to be relayed to the person, and I can't explain it other than just there is a connection that's made once you put your focus on something, a group, a person, an animal. They do the rest.
Have you ever, for your own curiosity, tried to do a reading on, for example, let's say, the United States?
No. That's just something that I suppose I could see some people doing that. Personally, I don't feel it's right to do. For the most part, I don't do readings unless someone requests it. There has been a rare occurrence where I felt a reading was needed, and I would pull something and let the person know, what came, and that I felt they needed it and they needed to know it. And it did turn out they actually did need it, but it has been very, very rare. I think it's only happened twice that I can recall.
When you do this, does it take any energy away from you?
It does. Yeah. And I think that's why the requests come and go in waves, because when I get a large wave of requests, I feel very drained after I finish all of them. And then I have to go through a period of sort of rejuvenation, re-energizing. And once I've built up enough, then without me even, saying or doing anything, they just start to come in again in a huge wave of requests. I can't explain it. It is the strangest thing, but I will go long periods of time. Absolutely no one asks me a question. And during that time, I am just too weak to do it. And then as soon as I'm strong enough to do it again, boom, a wave of people start asking me questions, sending me inboxes and stuff. It's very, very strange, but I've given up on trying to explain strange things because it's just the way it goes.
Has anyone ever done a reading for you?
Yes. Has anyone ever done an accurate reading for me? No. I have as yet to have a reading done that actually jived with me. Some of them were so out there and bizarre, they just made absolutely no sense whatsoever. I think the closest I came to having a good reading was years and years and years ago, but it was not a tarot reading. It was just a pure psychic reading, and she did rather well. Some of it's still, out there. She did like a full life future reading for me, and she did very well. But that's, I think, the only time I've ever had someone do a reading for me that was actually spot on.
If I understood correctly, you cannot accurately do readings for yourself either. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Almost seems unfair that you can do this for other people, but nobody's been able to do this for you. How do you feel about people that... well, let me rephrase this. How do you feel about astrology?
Astrology has its merits. It's not something that I have personally done a whole lot of research into. It's not something that I feel is meant for me to practice. But astrology has, it's very strange in that it also seems to be very accurate, depending on the person who's doing it. But when you look at the overall explanations for the various signs and things like that, you'll find that the characteristics that are associated with a sign very often fit with personality types of the people that they're related to. For example, I'm a Scorpio. Scorpios are known to be very involved with the strange, unknown, mysterious things. We're also very protective and somewhat magnetic in personality, which I have found seems to be one of those things. And we have a natural pull towards things that are mysteries. And I've experienced them all my life, and as a result, I've been researching them for as long as I can remember to try to better understand them. So I don't really understand how astrology works, how these alignments have affected the broad range personality of many people. I'm not so sure about horoscopes to that extent. Usually those aren't very accurate at all. But general, I guess, archetypes of different astrology signs tend to be somewhat accurate. So I think there's something to it, but it's just not something I've actually done much research on my own.
Do you feel that children are more in tune with the things that adults are not in tune to?
Spiritually wise? Yes. To a great extent, this is because they are pure. When a child has an experience, they aren't predisposed to expect certain things, and they don't have ideas about things and what can and what can't be. So their view is pure. It's unflawed. It's not corrupted by ideas and things that have been ingrained into them yet. As a person gets older, they're told certain things about the way things are and what reality is and what their limitations are, what you can and can't do, and what things can and can't be. And as a result, we cut those things out of our reality to the point that we just refuse to see them when they present themselves to us. So, yes, what they see and perceive is very different in what they experience because their experiences are more pure and without bias.
If you could recommend one book for someone listening to this program to read, what would you recommend to them?
Supernatural by Graham Hancock. It is a book that covers a broad range spectrum of topics, and it touches on extraterrestrials. It touches on the use of mind-altering substances by shamans in the past and in the present, and the experiences people have when they're in the spirit realm, and how common these experiences are from person to person, and how if what they are seeing is simply a process of their mind, then how do you explain so many of them see the very same things and they experience the same beings? If these are a product of someone's mind, why wouldn't they appear differently? Why wouldn't each be subjective to the person? So what is being suggested, I believe, is that the chemicals in our brain that are triggered, the DMT and things like that, are allowing us to see things that we can't normally see with our simple sight. There are a lot of things that we can't see in the spectrums that we see. If you put on infrared glasses, you see things you wouldn't see with just your eyes. I think in this way, these substances allow us to see not only our reality, but possibly some other realms that overlap ours, or perhaps things that even coexist with us that are just unseen because of our limitations.
Do you believe that dreams, and I mean dreams as in the kind of dreams people have when they're asleep, do you believe that they have meaning?
Some do. Usually dreams are a reflection of your subconscious mind, things that you stick back there, and sometimes you're not always wanting to address during the day, but they come out later, things that are on your mind, and they can present themselves in many different ways. And so I suppose I know people who do dream interpretations. To some extent, I don't really always agree with the interpretations that they give to some things. I don't think the interpretations for seeing a snake in your dream necessarily means what some people will say, or seeing an owl. Sometimes a snake is just a snake, but yes, I do think that there are things that work out in your dreams that they're not always going to be what they appear on the surface. And hopefully, dream interpretation has gotten to a point where they widely understand most of those things. For myself, I've never really needed dream interpretation. My dreams are pretty straightforward most of the time. I have some that are repetitive, and I can pretty much tell you some of them are views at other lives. And I know when I have a dream that I'm seeing something that is not just a dream, but I'm just remembering something from before.
When you did the readings for the forum and chat, that was a really fun time. We didn't record that show, unfortunately. I wish we had. I do want to extend an open invitation to you to come back anytime and be on the show. And if you want to do some live readings, we can do that. All you have to do is send me a message and let me know that you feel up to it. I do appreciate your time and having you on here as a guest. It's been wonderful to hear from you and to hear about your experiences.
Well, thank you. I've had fun being here today. And I would be happy to do a reading show anytime. The members would like it. I would be happy to do it. I am always here to help. That is my primary purpose, is to help others. That's what I do. So if you guys want to do, a live reading thing, I would be happy to do it.
Okay, guys, we're live from the chat room. Stormy's going to do some tarot card readings, and feel free to go ahead whenever you're ready to proceed.
Okay, this is Don Limpio, also known as Mr. Clean. This is what happens when you lose a football bet. I guess I've got the big mouth, so I'll go ahead and go first.
Wow, that's awesome. It's good to finally hear you. Okay, what type of reading would you like? Do you want to do a question or just a general reading?
I would like to have a general reading of what's coming up, say, this year, 2014, if that's possible, please.
Yes, it is. Hang on just a second. I'm going to shuffle. All right, Mr. Clean, your first card was the One Ring Circus in reverse. It was upside down. In this position, the definition is, if you think that the sun won't rise without you, then it's time to change. Perhaps you believe no one will be there to help you, or expect that you have to do all the work, emotional or otherwise. This is a fear-based idea. It only serves to alienate you from others by taking away from their right to participate. Receiving the One Ring Circus card may indicate the misuse of power. Give it up, let go of the need to control how the wind blows, and let others play their part. You don't need to be invincible. You have all the answers. Things will be done if you step out of your own way. Yet another meaning for this card also suggests that there is someone else that may be trying to control you. This needs to be addressed. Don't be afraid to set a boundary. This is a wonderful step to interdependence. Consider the example of two trees planted side by side, sharing the sunlight equally, neither overshadowing the other. So this could mean a couple of things. I kind of get the feeling, though, that somebody's going to try to be somewhat controlling over you at some point, and it's something that you're going to have to face and address and not just kind of let it go. I pulled 3 cards for you, so I'm going to get to the next one now. Your next card was Ghostlands. This is one of those cards that kind of suggests that you're being whimsical, looking into the past. Here's the definition for it. Whenever you set your sights too far ahead, you run the risk of losing your footing. For rarely do the present and future match up exactly in the enchanted map that is your life story. The future has no substance right now. It is a place that has no grounding as of yet. You can't live there. You can take measured steps toward a goal or a dream. These steps are important right now. The same goes for nostalgia. You can look into the past wistfully and remember beautiful moments or revisit lessons learned. However, you can't live there, nor can you go back and change what was. Yesterday is gone forever. Live fully in the present. The now is the most important, powerful place to put your attention. Its magic reaches out in every direction, further than the heart and soul can see. This might actually tie in with the first card in that this controlling situation may cause you to kind of be stuck in the past. I will go to your next card now. The final card was Mountain, and this was also in the reverse position as was the first one. In this position, this is the definition. There is an obstacle to your question. This is not the time to move forward. Wait a while. Be patient. And a way to move around the mountain will be revealed. Pushing forward isn't in your highest good. Don't try to climb too high to grasp the prize that seems out of reach, because it is. For now. If you exceed your limits, you'll find yourself tumbling down, and you'll get hurt. Remain open to a new possibility, rather than stubbornly forging ahead. So, okay. So this one is telling you that you're going to come to a point this year that you're going to want to push ahead with something that is not meant to be, and you just need to chill because it needs time to get to that point. I'm sorry if that's entirely depressing. I never ever sugarcoat the cards. They are what they are. If I read a fortune and I change it or something to make it seem better, I'm not doing you any service or anyone else. And that's why I always read them exactly as they come out, because the whole point is to help people, and you cannot help people by lying to them. But these cards aren't bad either. It's just kind of letting you know what's coming so that you can be prepared for it. When you see that relationship developing where someone is somewhat controlling with you, you can suddenly, kind of be more aware of it and acknowledge it and then address it. And you can avoid being stuck in the ghost lands, and looking at the past or wishing for the future and not living in the now. By knowing that these things are coming, it helps you avoid them better. Does that make sense?
I had a question, but after you did such a reading on him, go ahead and read me. My question can be saved. I'll take a reading.
All right. Give me a minute and I will shuffle. I just want to say you've got some really, really awesome cards. I don't see any of these very often, so I'm actually really excited to give these to you. All right, the first one is the least encouraging, but it is something that suggests that there are things that you might have to overcome, but you have the power to do it. It's the Goblins card, and it's in the reverse position. Here's the definition. It's often difficult to deal with someone else's issue because they impact your own. No one is perfect, but in this case, you are particularly vulnerable to being manipulated. Don't take this word personally. When the Goblin card arrives reversed, it's a sign to step back with detachment. Don't let other people's stuff lead you into reacting from an old wound. Love yourself unconditionally. Set boundaries and your goblins will fall asleep. Love is the only answer. Okay. Your next card was the Magical Map Shifter, and this is actually the first time I've ever seen this in a reading. When the Magical Map Shifter card arrives, it comes with a mission to make you aware of the people who come into your life to impact your personal growth. Perhaps you may meet a soulmate whose presence invites you to be the best you that you can be, or someone who leads you out of difficulty into a place of safety or success. Pay attention to those individuals who cross your path today and cause to reflect on your journey. Be awake and aware, and you'll recognize them for the important change agents that they are. Your whole perspective about who you are and why you're here will shift. The Magical Max Shifter always invites you to better yourself. Alright, so this is saying that there are going to be some very important people coming into your life, and when they come into your life, they're there to help you grow, and you need to recognize them as people who are there to help your path and your journey. Your final card is Into the Unknown. I had seen this before, but not often. Life is an adventure, and often new opportunities will arise that you won't know how to deal with. This is one of those times. You're required to trust that this new phase will reveal wonders and miracles as you step into unknown territory. Imagine that you are not only a pathfinder, but a path maker. Whatever your question, trust that you'll be safe. Stay aware as you discover new and marvelous territories and valuable treasures. This one is the best card of all, and I think it speaks for itself. It's definitely a nice sign.
That actually made me feel better. Sorry you got depressed, Mr. Clean.
Okay, who's next on the list?
Mystery says
Can you hear me?
she would like to go. And she has figured her microphone out. Hi, Mysteries.
Hi.
What type of reading would you like? Do you have a question, or would you like a general reading?
Just a general reading would be okay, if that's all right.
That is perfectly fine. I will shuffle now.
Thank you.
Okay, your first card is Ride the Wave. You can be assured that you're entering a time when you can ride the wave of abundance. The tide has turned, and you can put your surfing skills to the test. Everything that you know, all your talents, coupled with your hopes and dreams, will carry you forward. People and circumstances have come out of the ocean of potential and possibility to take a shape in a wave of spectacular activity. Know that you're definitely on the right path. Okay, your second card was actually shared with Tiny, so I'll read it for you, but this is one we heard before. It is Goblins in the reverse. It's difficult to deal with someone else's issues because they impact your own. No one is perfect, but in this case, you're particularly vulnerable to being manipulated. Don't take this world personally. When the Goblin card arrives reversed, it's a time to step back with detachment. Don't let other people's stuff lead you into reacting from an old wound. Love yourself unconditionally, set boundaries, and your goblins will fall asleep. Love is the only answer. And your last card is an interesting one. It is Unexpected Visitors. Detours, surprises, and paradigm shifts. Expect the unexpected. No matter how many detailed plans you have, how clear you believe the road to be, there are times when the best laid plans are waylaid by unforeseen circumstances. At first, detours may seem inconvenient, but a surprise turn of events signals that adventure of life is beginning to get interesting. No one can plan for synchronicity, for fate and destiny to meet. You have to accept Spirit, who knows what you can't comprehend for now. Life is full of surprises, so stay on your toes and enjoy this exciting new adventure you weren't expecting. This is a plan for your life that may not match up with your agenda. So, you have all good things for the most part coming to you, especially with Ride the Wave, and then you have Unexpected Visitors, which means something that you're totally not expecting to happen is going to happen, but in a good way.
Thank you, Stormy. That's great.
You're welcome.
Okay, hi Stormy, how are you doing tonight? Thanks for doing this once again, by the way.
I'm doing great, Sea Dog. What would you like to have done tonight?
Well, to be quite honest with you, you've pulled such horrible cards for me in the past, and unfortunately most of them have come to pass, so I'm a little apprehensive. But if I could have something tonight, it'd be a 3-card read on what this year holds for me.
All right, I'm going to start shuffling right now, and let's hope we get some good cards this time. Well, for starters, all your cards are upright, so that's a bonus. It means that there's not a lot of issues that you have to take a step back on. Your first one is balancing act. There are times when things seem a bit topsy-turvy, and it feels as if you're juggling 1,000 balls in the air. Perhaps you're unsure of your footing. Now is the moment to evaluate which areas of your life need balance and then restore equilibrium. Choose harmony over discord, and great success will be yours. You'll find inner stability when you choose a balanced, focused, and level path. All right, so this is saying right now things are kind of chaotic, but if you take a step back and balance out the things that you need to, you're going to find the right path. Let's see, your next card is Strength. I'd have to say at this point, it looks like you definitely got a turning point coming. The strength to accomplish even the most daunting tasks is yours at this time. You can connect with and channel the power of the universe. The Strength card indicates that your ideas are being tested and refined, and your relationships are being deepened. No matter what happens, nothing can move you off the course of evolution. As the potency of your connections becomes more obvious, you're able to harness the creative energies that are available to you. Have courage and dive in. Magic is in the process of finding a form to take. When you remember that, real strength comes from the combination of your efforts and reliance on a higher power working through you. All is possible. You can do anything now. These are really good. All right, your final card is Heal the Ouch, and this is probably one that addresses, recovering from past things. This is a time for great soothing of the heart, body, soul, and mind, as this card indicates that healing will be prevalent in your life now. If you feel drawn to study the healing arts, you'll be successful in developing your natural capacity to restore others to wellness. However, the message may be that you're being called to change your behaviors in order to heal the earth. Perhaps you'll switch to a cruelty-free diet, eating less meat, or perhaps you'll pay more attention to how much water or electricity you use. You're asked to be conscious of your footprint on the sacred earth, all of life, and to commit to the healing path. The Heal the Ouch card may also be an indicator of old wounds and broken bonds being mended. Reconciliations are possible now. Let bygones be bygones.
Thank you, Stormy, and once again, it resonates with me, all of it. This is certainly a time of great change for me and some decisions and focus to be employed. Anyway, your readings are lovely. Thanks once again.
You're welcome, C. I'm just really happy to see some turning tides here because it's been a while. And it gets kind of frustrating as a healer sometimes to have to give bad news continually, and to finally see, some real turning coming here. This is just wonderful. I'm very, very happy that you asked for this reading today. Who's next?
Iris in chat does not have a microphone, but would like to know if their dreams mean anything, and if so, what would that mean? I believe they were asking for a card reading on the dreams they're having. Is that correct, Irie? Okay.
All right. For this type of reading, I'm just going to pull a single card. I'll start shuffling now. Okay. We have Into the Unknown reversed. Inexperience plus overconfidence can lead you into a dangerous situation for which you're unprepared. Always remember that wisdom comes from experience. Keep an open mind and enter this part of your journey with alert eyes. Don't assume you know this territory. You may not recognize what is hidden by camouflage. This is not a time for careless adventure. So your dreams are giving you a warning right now. Did I see that Liberty wants a reading?
Yes, Liberty
All right,
would like
is
a
that
reading.
general?
Liberty has asked for a general reading.
All right, I will start shuffling now. Well, this is interesting. Now, don't take this the wrong way. This can mean more than one thing, because when I say this, it's going to immediately make you think something. It may not be the case. Your first card was commitment. Partnerships formed at this time are harmonious and powerful. The commitment card also indicates the natural evolution of a relationship from its inception to a literal or metaphorical marriage. At the very least, there is a promise of fulfillment in some form. However, you must be conscious of what you're committing to. Be clear about the nature of your commitment and your responsibility to it. Others are more willing to enter into partnerships at this time. Remember that your partnership with Spirit and the highest version of your own self will engage the highest self in another. Okay, and your next card was Dragon Slayer. You know, I don't even know how to comment on that. Going from commitment to Dragon Slayer. Here we go. You have a remarkable internal warning system that lets you know when things are out of alignment. You are about to enter dangerous territory, so tread carefully and be aware of your surroundings. The path you're on now is one that will challenge you to the core. That said, peril is also exciting and exhilarating, like the danger you feel before you enter a new relationship, knowing that you'll be changed forever. A life lived fully isn't lived only in safety. A new experience is calling to you, one that will test your courage. The choice is yours, but there is a greater value in risk-taking than remaining unchallenged. New territories are waiting to be discovered. All right, your final card is home in the reverse position. If you don't feel at home, it's time to do a thorough and fearless inventory. What are you hiding from? Are you afraid of being yourself? Do you feel that you don't belong where you are? What if you choose another path? Does your understanding of home perhaps dictate that such a place must be unsafe, unstable, or unfulfilling? It's time to love yourself and create a new sense of safety and security within. You might have chosen a situation that is familiar and led you back to the original source of your pain. No matter, because this is an important and powerful invitation to a new you. Say no to the pain of the past. Say no to the voice of your inner critic. No to those who want to dim your light to make themselves brighter. Choose a new home. Take refuge in knowing that beauty and a true sense of belonging lie ahead. You have awesome cards. Who's next?
I believe Hard Truth wants a reading and a general life reading.
All right, I am shuffling now, Hard. All right, Hard Truth. Your first card is the Wizard of Awareness. Mindfulness is about being observant and remaining neutral about what goes on in the world around you. This applies to the environment within you, too. If you struggle inside yourself, stepping into an observer position gives you a new, powerful perspective that neutralizes any discomfort or overexcitement. You have the capacity to see things clearly now, unencumbered by opinion or desire. Wearing the world as a loose garment requires you to adopt a sense that nothing that happens to you is personal. People come and go. Experiences evolve from one state to another, and a continual shifting and change, no matter how much you want things to stay the same. The Wizard of Awareness asks you to give up your need to define or limit what you're experiencing now. It's all good. Let it be, and watch the miracle unfold without any direct influence from you. Okay, you also got Heal the Ouch. This is a great time for soothing of the heart, body, soul, and mind. And this card indicates that healing will be prevalent in your life now. If you feel drawn to study the healing arts, you'll be successful in developing your natural capacity to restore others to wellness. However, the message may be that you're being called to change your behaviors in order to heal the earth. Perhaps you'll switch to a cruelty-free diet, eating less meat, or perhaps you'll pay more attention to how much water or electricity you use. You're asked to be conscious of your footprint on the sacred earth and all life and commit to the healing path. The Heal the Ouch card may also be an indicator of old wounds or broken bonds being mended. Reconciliations are possible now. Let bygones be bygones. You have one more card, Hard. You also got the Dragon's Lair. This card, it can be good and it can be bad. It's basically saying that you're coming into a situation that's going to be extremely challenging, and so you have to make the decision wisely on what you do. I'll read the definition again in case you weren't listening earlier. You have a remarkable internal warning system that lets you know when things are out of alignment. You're about to enter dangerous territory, so tread carefully and be aware of your surroundings. The path you're on now is one that will challenge you to the core. That said, peril is also exciting and exhilarating, like the new danger you feel before you enter a relationship, knowing that you'll be changed forever. A life lived fully isn't lived only in safety. A new experience is calling to you, one that will test your courage. The choice is yours, but there is greater value in risk-taking than remaining unchallenged. New territories are waiting to be discovered. All right, who's next, Entropy?
I believe Tiny wanted to ask you a question. I'm still waiting on the abstract to tell us if they want a reading.
Here, I'll ask the question. It should be fairly simple. When you were talking, you said you don't normally offer readings out to people. You wait until they ask. So I wondered, what makes you receptive? It makes you know this person needs a reading and I need to give it to them even though they didn't ask me to.
It's like an intuition, and that's really the only way to explain it. I get this feeling. I need to pull some cards, and I don't always know why. There's an example. There was a day I went in to get a medical treatment done, and I just had this feeling I needed to take them with. So I took them with, and when I'm done, it was Christmas time, and I said, you know what, I'm going to give you a Christmas present. And I offered to give her a reading, and halfway through it, she burst out in tears because everything was exactly, and there were things that she really needed to know because she was in the middle of a divorce. Things weren't going so well, and she was really worried about things. And the reading helped give her hope. And I had no way of knowing this. I had never met this woman before, but before I left, I had just had this nagging feeling that I needed to put those cards in my purse that day. I don't normally carry them with me, but that day I needed to do it, and I helped her, I healed her, I gave her a better Christmas by giving her that peace of mind. I can't explain it any other way than I just get this feeling, and I just know that it's needed. I have no other way to explain it but that. That's just as it is. It's like trying to explain why the wind blows. It just happens. There's no other way to explain it. I just get a nudge. And unless you feel those feelings, unless you've experienced it, it's really hard to try to describe it.
Oh, thank you, Stormy, and thank you for the reading. It was actually a really positive one, and I appreciated it.
You're welcome. I really enjoyed doing it too. the whole reason that I do this is to help people. It makes me know that I'm doing what I need to be doing. And, you know, like with Sea Dogs, sometimes it's not always the most happy, positive things, but today, finally, you know, there was some light, and that's a great feeling, knowing that, you know, you've shown somebody the path, and it's not always bright, but when the brightness comes, it's a big relief.
Cohan Luke 74 asks for a general life reading.
All right, I will be happy to. I'm going to start shuffling now, Luke. Okay, your first card is the Ghostlands card, which, as I said earlier, this is one that kind of suggests that you need to be in the present. I'm going to read the definition for you. Whenever you set your sights too far ahead, you run the risk of losing your footing. For rarely do the present and future match up exactly on the enchanted map that is your life story. The future has no substance right now. It's a place that has no grounding as of yet. You can't live there, yet you can take measured steps toward a goal or a dream. These steps are important now. The same goes for nostalgia. You can look into the past wistfully and remember beautiful moments, or revisit lessons learned. However, you can't live there, nor can you go back and change what was. Yesterday is gone forever. Live fully in the present. The now is the most powerful place to put your attention. Its magic reaches out in every direction, further than the heart and soul can see. Your next card, I'm pretty sure we drew last time as well. It's the Come Together card. Love needs to be expressed. Drawing the Come Together card is a sign that you're on the path to discover the nature of this emotion in all its forms of expression: romantic, familial, unconditional, and spiritual. In each instance, there's another being involved. Love involves a give and take between you and a significant other, a relative, a friend, an animal, and or a spirit. This card assures you that love has come calling and seeks a partner in its dance. Know that you are cherished. Like a magnet, you're attracting love into your life. This is the time for harmonious, caring partnerships. Your final card is Solitude in the reverse position. Too much solitude results in isolation and separation. Now is the moment to get together with friends and join in merriment. Hiding out will lead to loneliness and negative thinking. Separation at this time isn't a healthy choice. Are you in a situation in which you feel alone? You need to share this, not to keep it to yourself. By joining in with others, you'll hear what you need to know, because Spirit finds ways to speak through them without their even knowing it. You have the key to let yourself out of this prison. You are loved and never alone. You're welcome, Luke. Do we have any more requests?
I'll go ahead and dive in.
All right. Do you want a general or would you like a question?
General's fine. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to shuffle. All of your cards are inverted, by the way. Your first one is the Compass card in the reverse position. What is your higher power right now? Whatever you constantly focus on long enough becomes your higher power. If you worry about financial insecurity, materialism is your idol. If you obsess over a relationship, that is your God. If you're concerned about your weight or your looks or your status, you've lost your personal power and your way. Nothing but Spirit can be your guiding force. You'll never truly find what you seek if these worries and distractions are your constant focus. Surrender and shift your compass. Be still and watch as the needle points to true north. Align yourself, and you'll easily find your way back to where you're meant to be. All right, your second card was the Talisman in reverse. A reverse talisman card warns that you must be aware of the repetitive patterns in your life. Sometimes the things that feel the most familiar carry with them reminders of what you don't want to experience again. Yet here you are, faced with an important choice. You can move forward cautiously, or you can look for another path that will take you in a new direction. Consider this. If you've fallen down a hole a few times, why wouldn't you walk around it this time? If you know where the hole lies, treasure that wisdom. Although the universe is unlimited, every individual path has some limitations. Accepting that not all avenues are available to you at this time is a powerful realization. That said, you don't have to retrace your footsteps either. No matter what, you're on this path to gain greater wisdom, regardless of the choice you make. This is the time to ask others who have been here before for advice and assistance. Their wisdom will awaken your own. Alright, the final one is slow and steady in the reverse position. Pushing things forward impulsively will not only prevent success, but potentially cause more trouble than you're prepared to handle. Moving too quickly will only yield unripe fruit with a bitter taste. Slow down. Breathe. Meditate. You're not a human doing. You're a human being. Just be. Everything will work out if you can apply the brakes and become more aware of what's happening in this moment. A calm focus on the now, breathing in the beauty of your surroundings, will restore your power to consciously co-create your world. All fruits ripen in their own time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have energy for one more?
Yes, I certainly do.
Dirty Annie has asked for a general reading.
All right, I will shuffle now, Annie. Okay, Dirty Annie, your first card is Metamorphosis. Butterflies earn their wings through great effort. The process of change is often painful, for it is never without losses and sacrifices. If you are to transform from one form to another, a part of you needs to die. Letting go isn't easy, especially when you're used to thinking a certain way about your life and how you live it. Just as a snake sheds a dead skin, or a caterpillar dies so that the butterfly can be born, you're required to release your old ideas and embrace a necessary change so you can live your life best. Perhaps you're being asked to go with the flow, or have low self-worth, a dream that no longer serves you, a relationship that is draining, or unhealthy habits. Despite your fear, you must accept that this is a transformative time for you. There will be some loss involved, but you'll love what you become. Your second card is Cleaning House. When you see the Cleaning House card in a reading, it's time to declutter your life and get rid of unwanted things in your physical home, and release what you no longer want or truly need. Is there any unfinished business you should address? Thoughts, memories, emotional baggage must be swept out of your house as well. Your conscience must be clear for you to move freely in the world. Celebrate a spring cleaning and feel the freedom as you make way for better things. Look at what you've resisted discarding and be honest about its value. Be honest, clean house. Your final card is Strength in the reversed position. When you see the Strength card reversed, pay particular attention to your health, for this indicates that your body, mind, and spirit need strengthening at this time. Exercise, rest, and proper nutrition are necessary to keep you in balance. Don't deplete yourself through overwork, as now is the time for building your stamina. Perhaps you feel the bonds weakening in a relationship. If they are in danger of being broken, they may need repair. Attend to them before the burden gets too heavy. Be strong, face the reality of your relationship at this time, and give it your attention, for any fragile threads may give way. Let go of whatever robs you of your life force, and trust that something better will take its place.
Stormy, I want to thank you for the time that you put into this and the energy that it required to do this for everybody. I enjoyed interviewing you. I always enjoy these card readings, and I hope that we can do this again sometime.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here, and I will be happy to do it again anytime you guys want. Love and light.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.